Oh. Mm. Hello,
Hello,
everyone. How are you today?
we're so excited to be here. We're both talking at the same time. But we're so excited today to talk about how we take that mindset with our incomes and how we add that side hustle in there and change that mindset that as women, we've been told that we need to always pinch our pennies. We need to do this. We want to get to the root of our habits and why we do the things and things that make us happy. We don't necessarily need to give up. We just need to get to the root of why we're doing some of those things. And so I'm Michelle DeKaiser from Connecting Mamas and Cheyenne Syversons from Inspiring Solutions for You. We're so excited to be here. I'm going to pass this right along to Cheyenne as we get started today.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, another exciting day with Let's Get Real with Money and Mindset. And as Michelle said, we're going to talk about, really shifting that mindset about your income. And we often talk about how you should cut back on your coffee and pinch your pennies and save those things. And sometimes that even can be a little overwhelming and kind of get us thinking of the scarcity mindset. So today we're going to spend some time really diving in on how to change that into an abundant mindset. And with doing that, it's actually better to spend more time on your income than your expenses. Yes, it's really important to cut back all those unnecessary expenses or some of those hidden habits you didn't know about. However, the more you spend with your income, the actually more success you'll find. And the reason is because then you're training your mind to look for those opportunities of how can I make more income? And it could be something as simple as, okay, you want to buy another pair of shoes because you love how they look with that dress. Fabulous. But maybe there's one hidden in the back of your closet that you've only wore once or twice. Maybe it's time to find a thrift store or something like that where you can get some of the money back out to go towards that next purchase before you buy it. But more off, we're actually going to talk more about side hustles and things and why you want to spend more time looking for those other opportunities to put more income into your pocket. Because then when you have inflation, life changes, when you're already making those other income, you already have it as a backup plan. And also when you're making more income and inflation happens and the rise of prices go up, you're not as are uncomfortable with it because you already have that other income stream that can help cushion some of those changes.
I love that. I love that so much, but it comes back to that mindset. I feel as women, we've always been told, well, make sure you get your coupons, make sure you're spending all your time. How do you make more of what you have from the amount you have? But instead, if we just shift that instead of spending all my time looking for those coupons, how can I now look at what side hustles or what things can I do to help support that income? And imagine, okay, yes, I can save $2 on one thing at the grocery store if I go cut that coupon. And not that we shouldn't do some of those things, but how much time and effort are we putting into that versus I can save the $2 or I can figure out how I can make $100 doing something else. So we want to talk about some of those side hustles today, but just it's that shift that as women that we've just been told, don't indulge yourself. Don't do these things. And that's not the case. The case is like we were talking about the coffee, because we went off on coffee for a while even before we got on here, is why are you doing the coffee? Has it become a habit that it's just something you do and it's not necessarily something where you're like, as Cheyenne was saying earlier, was that you're cutting your calories and your budget at the same time. It's not something you necessarily enjoy. However, if it is something that brings you joy, and brings a smile to your face as you walk in, you feel like the boss, the queen, as you just go order that latte you want, then do it. It's more looking at why are you doing some of these things and taking stock of that, and then doing more things you want to do and taking away the things that you were just doing out of habit rather than appreciation or gratitude, or that you even enjoy doing. There was just something you were spending money on and didn't even realize it. Yeah. Those are things we want to cut out and then figure out, well, all of you looking at here have so much to offer to other women and other people in this world. But look at some of your skills. And that's what we're talking about, some of those ideas. How do we take those skills of what we're doing and add something, make some of that extra money so that we're not feeling so in that scarcity mindset that we need to spend our time cutting these coupons, doing this. But how can we inspire each other to lift each other up and increase our income rather than just think like we have to stick with where we're at?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few things on that. With the coffee, maybe you change it into it's a celebration with your girlfriends or a time to get together instead of just that daily cup of coffee. maybe for the most part, you use the cheaper coffee or you can make it at home, and then you use it as a way to get out of the house, have some free time, and you want to go celebrate, get that mama connection, right? So that's one way to do it. But yeah, for the side hustles and things like that, something that comes to mind is maybe you have a whole bunch of littles. So maybe most of your kids are at school and you have one or two left in the household and you do a daily walk. Well, one way to do that would be maybe you really like dogs and you have some people in the neighborhood, maybe some elderly that have some little small dogs that need to be walked. Well, obviously a big dog, unless they're well trained with a stroller, wouldn't be really a good example, but maybe they've got a little dog that just needs to go for a little walk. And maybe it's a way you can say, oh, for a little bit of money, I'll take your dog for a daily walk. You get out with the kids, you get a walk, and then the dog gets a walk and you get a little extra income. But ultimately, sit back and think, what is something that you love doing that you would do for free, but it would help your family if you got a little extra money? Maybe maybe you love scrapbooking. Well, maybe you know of some people that really don't like scrapbooking, but they like the result. Maybe you can help design some pages with their photos. So you're utilizing the scrapbooking stuff that you already do for your family, and now you get a little extra money by doing it for other people. Maybe it's just something as making simple pages that they just have to plug and play the photos in. There's a whole wide array. So find something, dig in deep, spend some time writing it all out. And I'm not saying the whole business plan by any means, just write down a whole bunch of things that you really sit back and find joy in. Maybe you like spending time with a whole bunch of little babies. And now that your kids are off to school, maybe you want to start provide some in-home daycare or something like that. That could be another alternative that you could do to bring in some other income. Or maybe it's gardening. Again, there's a lot of senior citizens that love the beauty of flowers, but maybe they can't get down on their knees and they just need someone to come over and weed the garden or water it. That could be something that you can do. Even yard cleanup. My boys and I, we've taken several different days, and we went and helped an elderly lady do some deep cleaning in her yard. It's been a lot of work for us, but it's been a family event where we go and help her, and it helps her a lot. And it's a little extra money for the household. So there's all sorts of options.
I love how you said that. And I really think the key is that we take that time to really just start getting curious and making that list of things that we really do enjoy doing. And then asking yourself, how could we make it into a side hustle? But it was funny though, as you're saying, like, I guess I forgot to tell my kids that I was recording to them at the in-laws house. My son walked in. And it's funny, and actually it sparked me because as he's saying there, what he was doing is he was bringing in 2 jars with him into this room that I'm in. And he's actually, as a 12-year-old, started a little side hustle of a microgreen business where he grows microgreens, and it's about a week and a long half process. But he actually has his first customer, one of our neighbors, and is selling microgreens to the neighbors. And I didn't realize what a big thing it was until he kind of got into it. And they went to the grocery store, and one of the grocery stores by us can't even keep them on the shelf. How fast these microgreens are growing. And so it's kind of like, but again, if you are a gardener, you love doing those things, adding a little bit more, and then, doing those things. But again, it's starting with that question of what do I actually enjoy looking? Because I want to, Guy Hendricks wrote a book about the zone of genius. And so we can be in the zone of excellence. So even say, for instance, I went to school to be a teacher, and it's a zone of excellence for me, but it's not something that I felt like as I was doing it, it was something I could do, but it wasn't like I felt like my soul was in it, right? You've had that feeling, or some people might be doctors and some or lawyers, and they went through all the process of doing it, and they can do the job. And a lot of us at this age get to that point, or we've been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and we're like, well, what do we do next? It's not like I want to go back to the career that I did have before kids, because that's not going to happen. That's what we're about, is soul searching and figuring out the things that we're good at. And so for me, it was figuring out that I love speaking and I like doing these things and putting blogs together and things. And as I'm doing that, what can I do with all that and putting those pieces together? And so step 1, again, is just unlocking that curiosity. And I love that Cheyenne's question is just there. What would I do if I could do every day that I love, even if I wasn't getting paid for it, if I could do it for free? That's where we start. We just put that at the top of our page. And you need to start filling out. We can give you ideas so we blew in the face, but if you start with that curiosity and then just start as those things you're doing, like, oh, like you said with scrapbooking, if that's something you like doing, and just start creating that list. And again, it doesn't need to be doing right away, but this is where we start shifting that mindset of what were we born to do? And
Right.
how do we provide that what gives us that fulfillment in life is looking at what brings us joy effortlessly, that we can give that gift to someone else.
Yeah. And I think it really, it's not something that has to be world changing. I think we get in a lot of the mindset too with the businesses. People are looking for that one big thing to make their family a millionaire or something along those lines. And really, that's not necessarily where your family's going. And it can grow. Like, you're going to grow as more opportunities present themselves and your mind thought shifts, and you continue to learn through the experience of developing your own side hustle or business. You're going to start growing, and what you started with might, like her son doing the microgreens, it might start with something as simple as doing microgreens. Not saying it's simple, but for him, that's a great project to take on because it can grow. Because before he knows it, he could have his own greenhouse if that really is what he gets into, and it could flourish into such, there's the aquatic, the upright, self-grow systems. I mean, there's the doors that could be huge, wide open for him just by starting with this one little piece. So we're not talking about this shifting the whole household income from scarcity to making a lot of money. We're talking about, let's start small. Start with something you're already doing that you enjoy as part of your daily routine, and how can you monetize that little by little, and then continue to learn to grow. Because what I've learned by, too, is sometimes just jump and feed in and don't worry about the perfect. You're going to mess up, you're going to lose some money, and you're going to gain some money, but do it anyways, because the growth that you experience by doing it is huge. I mean, if you would have told me 5 years ago I would have been doing live, I would have been like, you're really funny. But through my growth and leadership and stuff that I've done now, I'm like, let's go do it. When we first started, Michelle and I, we didn't even really have a topic. We just met and say, let's do it. And so we did. And we laughed about it. We had fun with it. And, that's really what you can do with your business too. And as it grows, before you know it, you could have a legitimate business, and you never know what could pivot into replacing your job. Or, like Michelle was saying, maybe you've been, a stay-at-home mom taking care of your kids, and you don't know what to go out and to work for, but maybe you really enjoy this thing. And you started out small, and by the time your kids are in school, or maybe they're already in school and you're still there for their sports, it's something you can fill into the cracks of your time. It doesn't have to take over your time, just something that you build on. And as your kids get older and less dependent on you, then you can grow and scale your business from there, or maybe pivot to something completely different. But that way, you're gaining experience that's irreplaceable, because no one can take your education and your knowledge away, but you can continue to grow and expand on it in the future. And so maybe you don't go out and get the job, because maybe you build your own business bit by bit, and it provides the income that you would have gotten had you went and got a job. So it just opens up so many more opportunities and doors for you to embrace. And it's all about, just having that open abundance mindset and reframing that mind to be thinking and seeing the possibilities, because the resources, the doors are there waiting for you to see that they're open.
I completely agree with you. And I think it's just, today we're just really looking at that perspective change, and that little thing of, like, we've been told for so long, especially if you've been a stay-at-home mom or something, like, you're in charge of making sure that you're crunching that budget. You're making sure that you're in charge of, like, making sure that you can make the most out of every buck that you give. And you shouldn't spend any on yourself. It all should go for the kids. And honestly, I want to say that that's baloney. Like, we need to fill our cups first. We need to reward ourselves. And like we were talking about before, it's like, if you want that new pair of shoes or something, and it's like, well, what are some of the things you can do to help create that and to shift it so you're doing something you enjoy, and then you get to reward yourself with something because more stuff is flowing to you. And again, we're looking at that flow of how energy flows in and out. And this is the same thing as we look at money as this hard concept, but it's really an energy. It's how, like, when we feel like we're not going to get, and we're crushed on it, it's harder for it to flow to us. And so when we start shifting that mindset to what can we do? What do we enjoy doing that we can bring joy to other people's lives by helping bring that to them? and add monetary to it as well. But again, it just comes back to getting to that zone of genius and figuring out, what am I really good at? And I don't want to hear the moms right here, because they can already hear the self-talk and they're going, I'm not good at anything.
Right.
It's okay if you feel like that right now. I ask you just open your curiosity to the question, what do I like doing? And just, even if it takes a week to come up with one thing, that's okay. Just be open to the possibility. That is what we're asking here today, is for you to get that self-talk and say, it's possible for me to do this. We're not saying you're going to get rich overnight. We're not here talking about any of that. We're talking about a slow thing. 5 years from now, what could that small step be for your family, that if you didn't start today and opening up your curiosity and the possibility of it, be today versus 5 years from now? And then you're 5 years from now, even if you're making $2,000 more a month, doing whatever side hustle you're doing, think about what that would have brought for your family over the last 5 years, right? It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but now you have that vacation you wanted. Now you guys get to spend more time as a family. You're not fighting as much because you're not struggling over that extra bit.
Right.
Because of that. So that's what this is all about. It's just that small shift.
Yeah, absolutely. It could start with, maybe you enjoy reading and of some elderly shut-ins that just love to have a conversation. Maybe you like washing dishes. I don't. I love that I have a dishwasher. Most of it goes in there. But maybe you do enjoy that quiet time. Well, maybe there's someone that's, there's a lot of people that live at home that, really could just use someone to have a conversation with, that just helps them with some odds and ends, because they're not as fast to do it themselves anymore. And once you do it once, the word gets around. And I had that conversation with my boys, is as long as you do a job and you do it well, I guarantee people are going to get the word around, and you're going to get the next job and the next one. And my youngest experienced that this year. He went and helped a buddy do some yard work that he didn't want to do. And then his dad wanted the yard work done. So then he had a few more days to work there and made some money. And so it really can snowball. But if you're always stuck on just how do I cut my expenses, your mind's always going to be looking there and not at the opportunities that are there. But the more, maybe washing dishes is just an example, and you start it and you're like, man, this is not really what I was hoping it to be. But because you go into it with an open mind, other avenues, and that might lead to reading or caretaking or, other avenues that you never would have thought of until you embrace the opportunity of that helping one person, right? And you just have to do it, just get out there, be vulnerable, do something that, like I said, I never would have thought I would have been doing a LinkedIn Live, and here we are doing live events every week, and I'm having fun with it. But if I would have never gotten out of my comfort zone and just started to open my mind up to the possibilities, I would have stayed in my little bubble, all safe and warm. But, I used to think of this when I raised my kids, is when they would get hurt because they'd fall down and different things. And I realized that I could have wrapped them in bubble wrap, right? As a mama bear, you want to protect those babies. But then they would have gotten sick because they would have been immobile. They would have been sheltered. And sometimes it's in the lessons of the fall that's our biggest reward, that makes us stand stronger. And, that's the same with embracing the income is, sometimes it takes that falling down. You're going to have some things you do that you're like, man, I learned I don't like to do that. And that's okay, but at least you tried it, right?
Well, you look at it and you think about the people who I love the saying, I think it's Brene Brown's the one that brought it out of me, but like, I know it's been said before that, but you think about the arena, right? You have all the spectators around the arena, and then you have the people in the inside of the ring. And who are the people really living the life is people who are in the ring doing something. All the spectators can make all the comments they want. And yes, you might get negative feedback. You might get this for the things you're doing, but are they living life? When you're in the ring, you're living. And so how do you get yourself in that ring? It's that mindset change. What can I do to feel fulfilled? And again, to feel fulfilled, a lot of times it's us doing service or things for other people that is in us. It's something innate in us. And so it's looking for that ability that is innate in us to provide for other people. And then we feel that fulfillment. And that's where a lot of the joy and energy, and then that's where doing these lives or doing something becomes more joyful. And when you're doing things that are more joyful, that make you money, then things start to change. Again, it's one step at a time. So start with just unlocking that curiosity, saying, well, I'm not good at anything, because I've heard that from a lot of moms. I have no time for this. I can't do this. All we're saying today, step number one, as we wrap up, is simply ask, what do I like doing that I think I could provide a service for someone else? Write on a piece of paper, leave it blank for now if that's all you got. Be open to it, and as answers or ideas come to you that feel right for you, write them down. That's it.
Yep.
Can you ladies handle that?
Yeah. Step one.
That is your homework for today. And if
Stay
you want to
curious.
share them in the comments or any of our stuff and tell us how it's going, we would love to hear back from you and know how it's going, or share this with someone else you think this message might resonate with them. We just want to start that conversation. Let's get ideas going with what's going to help us get that energy, that shift, that mental shift, that we're doing something we enjoy doing that supports us, benefits our family, brings more connection because it eases the things around us. We're no longer with that mindset of crunch that we have to keep this tight. We're opening up, we're releasing to let out more love, let out more kindness, and that brings better connections with our family as well.
Well said. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And Michelle, where can they connect and find you?
You can find me on connectingmamas.com and also Facebook and Instagram.